Hello friends. Let's see how to set up a MySQL replication. In here we will look at setting up a MySQL master-slave replication. I will be using my usual virtual machines. All those three virtual machines, they run CentOS version 7.1, and so what I'm planning to do here is install MySQL database on CenVMO1, CenVMO2, and make CenVMO1 the master database server and CenVMO2 a slave. So basically from your client application you can connect to CenVMO1 and do all the database operations, which gets synced to CenVMO2, which is the slave. But the sync can't take place the other way around, from CenVMO2 to CenVMO1. So please remember, it's master to slave replication, not the other way. If you want bidirectional sync, you need to go for multi-master, or if you want some additional functionalities, and you can go for cluster configuration if you want, like high availability, load balancing, and other nice features. But this is just simple MySQL replication, that's it. Okay, let's log into CenVMO1. And let's install MySQL, but CentOS 7 and in rel 7 you have Mariadb by default, but not MySQL. So let's install Mariadb. Looks like I've got it installed already. Okay, and systemctl status Mariadb is disabled. Let's enable it. Okay, it's running now. As this is a minimal installation, I will be installing lots of packages as and when required. So here we have 3306 running MySQL. And before we forget, we open up this port in the firewall. Actually, I can use the service itself, but let's see if we have got MySQL service. Do we have MySQL in here? Yep, we've got. So it's easy to do it this way. Done. Let's make sure it's there. It is there, and I haven't done any configuration to MySQL, so let's do secure installation. Enter current password for root. I guess it's a blank password. Yes, it is. Do you want to set up a new password? Yes, I do. New password. Done. You want to remove anonymous user? Yes. Disallow root login remotely? Yes. Remove test database and access to it? Yes. Reload privileges table? Yes. Okay, we've got everything set up now, and oh, I forgot. Cool. So let's see what databases we have got. MySQL performance schema, information schema. So let's create a couple of databases and a couple of tables to see how replication actually works. create database. I'm bad at guessing random names. Create database, let's say db1. That's a bad example, but don't care. Create database db2, and let's create a table in each of these. Create table db1. I told you I'm bad at guessing names. Okay. Just a quick one. db2. Cool. So we've got two databases with one table in each of them. Let's write to it. Uppercase I. Misspelled values. Okie dokie. So let's get out of. Okay, so there are a few other things you need to do. You've just got databases. It's now a standalone database server without any replication. So you've got a database, you've got tables, and what you need to do is you need to edit the MySQL configuration. You have to add a couple of entries to it to make it a master server, and you have to create replication user that does all the replication between master and slave. It's always the best practice to have a separate user account for doing replication, not using any MySQL accounts that has got access to any other databases. And then we log this database for read-only access while we take a dump of these databases. So while taking the dumps, we don't want anyone to update the database. So we log the tables for read-only access and dump the database, export it, copy it to the new server, the slave server, and then import it there, and then do some configurations on the slave server, start the slave. That's basically it. It might sound a little bit complicated, but trust me, it's just simple. You're gonna see that in a while. Okay, vi etc my.cnf. Don't worry about all these. Where you're going to do it, under MySQL D section, add server ID equals 1, and you also want to enable binary login. So this is the file that the slave database server queries to see what's going on in the master and whether the slave needs to update anything from the master, looking at this file. So log bin equals, say, something like MySQL binary log or something like that. Okay, we've added two new options: server ID equals 1, log bin equals MySQL bin. That is it. And now let's create a user. I keep doing this. I'll tell you what, I will keep doing this often. I'll forget to do that, so let's do it. I'm on the root account's home directory. So if you create a file named my.cnf and enter the following content, you don't have to type your username and password always. As you see, my password is admin. So now if you do MySQL, you don't have to enter your password, username. Why? Or is it just user? I think it's just user. Cool. So now let's create a MySQL user for replication purpose. So the syntax will be grant replication slave on star to my replication user is going to be REPL, just REPL at let's say my slave database server's IP address is 192.168.122 I guess. Yes, I think that should be it. A password for this account identified by, just for simplicity, I'm gonna use REPL flush privileges. That's it. Now before doing that, let me open another tab. Send VMO1. Okay, so let's lock the tables for read-only access. Flush tables with read lock. Okay, so that's done. If you do show master status, nothing. Why? Because we haven't restarted Mariadb after we made the configurations, after we made the MySQL configuration changes. Let's do it now. Systemctl restart Mariadb. Show master status. Okay, so the two options we need are the log file position. If you remember, this is the name of the log file that we entered in the MySQL configuration, and this is the position, the current position here, position 245. I'm sorry, this is the file name, and this is the position. We need to make a note of these two values, and while coming to the slave configuration, we need these two values to be set up. So let's do this again. Flush tables with read lock. That's done. So now on the other window, let's do a MySQL dump of all the databases. Let's say it will be easy to do it via a for loop, say. What databases do we have? DB1 and DB2. Okay, let's just do DB1. MySQL dump we got that. I'm gonna copy this to okay, done copying. Okay, let me open up a new window here, new tab, and log into the slave MySQL server. I need to install Mariadb here. I think I might have installed it previously. Yes, I've installed it. And let's do the same thing in here. And open up the port in the firewall so that we can access this machine. Okay, let's start the service. That's running now, and let's do the initial setup. Okay, and okay, let's see what databases we have here in the slave. That's because I've set a password and I haven't entered it. So we've got the default databases. We don't have any database, and let's import the database. Do we have the backup? Yes, we do have backup. MySQL. We need to create the database. Create database db1 and MySQL db1 imported from the backup. That's done, and we've got db1. And if you have a look in we've got everything. Yep, that looks okay to me. So now comes the MySQL slave configuration. If you edit my.cnf, so what we basically need here is, it's simpler than the master. You only need server ID. Make sure the value you give here is always higher than the one you give for the master configuration. So in our case we gave the value 1, so anything about 1 should be fine. Let me go with 2. That is it. And you can specify which database you want to sync. By default, if you don't specify anything, everything from the master will get synced to the slave. But if you want just a one particular database to be synced, you can give options like this. Replicates wild do table equals db1 in our case dot person, so everything, all tables under db1. So let's save it and restart it. Oh, failed. Why? MySQL dsafe logging to where has it failed? Man PID failed result. Okay, let's do unknown variable replicate wild do table replicate dash wild to table. Okay, I think I made a mistake here. So let's edit it. It shouldn't be this. This option, yes, it should be like this. Cool. So now we've got one more thing to configure. So we basically set server ID 1 on the master, server ID 2 on the client, on the slave. But according to this slave server, slave database server, it doesn't know who the master is, whom to connect to get the updates and everything. So we need to tell this slave server, see, here's your master, you need to connect to this master on this port using this user with this password and replicate this database. So we need to set all those things, and let's do it now. And if you go into MySQL, okay, on our master database server, let's unlock it. Okay. So we need these two values. So let's have this one handy here. And in here, what you're going to do is just tell it where the master is and the other details using this SQL command. Change master to CentOS1 is my master. Master user REPL. Master password, again REPL. Master log file is going to be this one here. And master log position equals 245. Is it 245? Yep. Done. And start slave. That should do it. Fingers crossed. Cool. Okay, so slave thread is running here. So we've got master server, and slave server is running. To see the slave status, you can give show slave status. That will give you an unreadable output because the table is so long with so many columns. And to get a clean and neat output, you could use show slave status followed by / and G. Okay. So the things we are interested in this table is, if you see seconds behind master, it says it's 0 seconds behind master. It means it's good, it's in a good state, it's in sync with master. If you see any other values other than 0, then that's going to be a problem. So mostly if slave is not running or there was any error when running the database commands from the log files, you will see a null value here, literally null, N-U-L-L. And if you go further up, you will see master log position is 245. So these are the two values that we entered as the SQL commands. So slave IO state, waiting for master to send event, that looks good. My master is sendVMO1 replication user, and this is the log file, this is the position, everything looks good. So now let's try adding some data to the master and see if it has replicated to the slave. And the other thing I was about to show you is, if you do show process list, you will see two entries here. Let's see if we get a nicer output from within MySQL. I guess no. No, okay. So basically you'll have two processes here. One says waiting for master to send event, the other one says slave has read all relay log, waiting for the slave IO thread to update it. So it all looks good. So let's go back to the master. So this is the connection from the slave server. Master has sent all bin log to slave, waiting for bin log to be updated. Okay, let's do an insert. Insert into db1 values db1 dot dbtb1. Before that, let's do a select statement here. Use db1. So let's start from dbtb1, just India, and we're gonna add Malaysia. Done. Quit, and let's do it here. You've got it here, so that is working. If you want to test the other way, from here insert into db1 dot dbtb1 values you've got it here, but in here nothing, so it won't work the other way. Okay, show master status. So if you see, the position has moved, and even if you stop the slave here, stop slave, and start the slave sometime after, and it will sync all the data from that position 435, from 435 onwards. So it's really not a problem to stop the slave server for a while for some maintenance or anything else. So it will sync from that position. That is it. I wanted to show you. I might do another video on how to do a multi-master replication. It's essentially the same process that we followed here. We did a master configuration, we did a slave configuration, we started the master, we started the slave. This step we will be doing one more time the other way, doing a master configuration on CentVM02 and doing a slave configuration on CentVM01, and then start master process, slave process on these two servers. So when you connect to any of these servers and update it, and it will get replicated automatically to the other server. That's the multi-master replication scenario, which I'm planning to do later. Okay, cool. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.